Hey there everybody, it's Wayne DeFrancesco. Welcome to the website, WayneDeFrancesco.com, and we're looking at the swing of Charles Howell III. He's got a nice start to the 2013 season, but overall you'd have to say that looking back at his amateur career and college, where he was probably the best player coming out in right around 2000, that Charles really hasn't done quite as well as you might have expected. He's won 2 tournaments, hadn't won since 2007. Certainly knows how to make a living. He's won over $23 million, almost averaging a couple $1,000,000 a year. I think he has something like 14 second place finishes, but has never cracked beneath the top 10 in a major championship. So he's never really contended in one of those, and it just seems unlikely that someone as talented as Charles and renowned for being a hard worker wouldn't play a little better. So one of the website members asked me in a post, if I thought there was anything about Charles's swing that might keep him from getting to the next level. So before we go into anything that I might think is missing in his swing, you want to look at what's really good about his swing. The swing on the left here is an iron shot, and of course it's pretty obvious that Charles knows how to put the club on the ball. Watch how beautifully this is impacted. Now, these aren't the best camera angles in the world, but it's pretty obvious that when he hits this ball, he's flushing it. So look at the sustain past it. Beautiful. You're really not going to find somebody who doesn't hit the ball any good looking like this when they hit at impact. This is about as good as it gets. When you look at the down the line view, you'll see a classic beginning of the swing, sort of just what I would like to teach. You see the right hip deepening, sitting back. See the club coming right up the plane. I like everything about that wrist action. So you can see the load going on. Now, that said, when it comes down, watch the way the shaft remains right on top of that right forearm, just perfect. All right. So look, Charles is a great player, but again, the question would be, let's say he came to me for a lesson and said, look, there's something missing, can't quite get to the next level, which would be top 10 in the world, multiple winner, contending in the majors. That would be the next level for Charles. So let's take a look, and what I want to focus on here is what happens right after he gets to about left arm parallel. So while the camera on the right here is a little bit out by the ball, since it's not moving around, we can at least follow the up and down, back and forth movement of Charles. So let's take a look here. If I drew the line on the shaft, the club is going to look like it goes underneath that line because of the camera angle. So this is something you'll see all the time. So that just sort of makes it like you don't want to draw that line. It doesn't really mean much, but you can see that it's tracking good. So if we go back and put the lines on top of the head here. And an important one in front of the cap. Let's take a look. So a little compression there, you see it. Just what I would like to see in the swing. But watch as he gets up to the top. Now, this is something that I talk about all the time, and you almost never see it in the best players. Now, I think Charles is pretty renowned for his physical shape, his strength and fitness. Probably has about as little body fat as anybody on the tour, so he has the strength to overcome this move and keep that shaft from getting stuck behind him, which is pretty amazing. However, if we look at what stress it puts on the hands through the ball, watch the release here. So you can see the radical face movement there. So, right at left arm parallel, you'll see it. There's a pretty complicated series of things going on, and most of it, I think, is due to the action of the right leg and hip. So if we watch it from here, you'll see when Charles pushes off the right side, he'll push up and forward with the right leg. Let's take a look here. So sorry about the clicking of the mouse, but that's what it does. So take a look here at the right leg. It's gonna, from that nice compressed position, or that little lowering into the backswing where he added a little flex early into the knee, like right there. See, now it's going to pull back right as the club starts to get past left arm parallel. The knee is going to pull back. The leg straightens, and while it straightens, the hip actually pushes forward toward the target momentarily. And as it does this, the left leg doesn't rotate, it doesn't retract at all. The left leg is just riding forward at this point. Now at the same time as that right hip hikes up, watch the head lift and then pull back. So when it pulls back, you'll see that the left arm angle, I'll just draw a line on the top of the arm, that left arm angle is going to change. He's going to flatten the entire arm. So right there you see that little move where the grip of the club goes straight down. And you can see the angle of the forearm, which is pretty vertical. Stay like that and then almost tip to more horizontal. So again, watch the head. So upward and then the pull away. Now that's a significant amount of backup, especially for somebody with a conventional setup. So what you get here, check this angle out in the upper back. Now again, the number doesn't mean much, it's just, that's vertical. So you can see it. He is standing almost straight up, and at this point, for that shaft to be doing what it's doing here, just shows his amazing ability and strength. So you can see that it takes a little while for the legs to get back to even with that camera angle. It's probably in this neighborhood here. but the tendency here would be for the legs to shoot underneath him. So certainly you can see that relative to where he started, he is, instead of gaining posture, if you look at Tiger and the guys that lower, they gain posture during the swing, and you'll see some sharp angles from the left shoulder at left arm parallel down to the waist. So if you looked at some of the videos that I've shown you, I've shown you some angles in this neighborhood in the 30s, the mid 30s with the driver, and down into the 20s with the irons. Charles is up there at 56, so this is really something that you almost never see amongst the top tour players. But again, he has such control of his body because of his physical ability that, to me, in spite of this move, which I think puts a tremendous amount of pressure on his release action to function under pressure, it just complicates things tremendously. He still manages to do it. However, I don't think he's doing it as well as he would like to do. So, in the article that I saw in Golf Week, it sounds like he's attempting now to work less on swing mechanics and more on, I don't know, whatever else you work on. Just going out and playing. He did say that he has a plan and he's working on some drills, but if it were me teaching him, this is what I would be addressing. Now, it's interesting. Let's watch that right leg movement from the face-on view. We already sort of dissected it from here. Let's watch it face on. It's going to be a little difference in iron, but you got the same idea here. So if we look at the belt line, so let's say we got the belt buckle right there. So if anything, you can see that that's going upward a little. So one of the things that I see that might be causing some of this issue is the attempt to hold the right foot on the ground and restrict that leg movement, even though he really likes to push off. It looks like that first move right in there in transition is kind of designed to keep the foot quiet. So if we draw some lines, now this one was, I don't know if the camera is directly in front of him, but we can, it's still, so we can see what's going on movement wise here. So just the tiniest bit of right load, the head sort of stays stable there. And then as he pushes off, you can see the head move forward. Now again, the camera angle I don't think is quite exact, but still you can tell that the head has moved well forward of its starting position. And that's kind of another thing that you don't see usually amongst the best players. However, from the front view, it certainly looks pretty darn good. It's back here where you get the what I would consider to be the big headache would be the right leg pushing underneath, the head backing up, losing posture, and coming at the ball with the upper trunk fairly vertical. So let's take a look at a couple other swings just to see if we get a consistent view of this. Here you can see how nice that takeaway is. Now we're getting to the top, and there it is again. So there's almost, as the right leg pulls back this way, you can almost see the muscles right in here lengthen. And as the leg pulls back and he pulls his head back and up, his arms drop down. But he's got such great hand control and shaft control. Look at the club, it just comes right on that forearm. It's pretty amazing. Now these are some shots I took, I didn't take them, but last year, right about this time of year. Now he has historically had great starts to his season a number of years, and this year it's no different. So again, you can kind of see how the legs are running toward the ball a little bit. Head pulls back a little, not as much lifting going on there. A couple of other ones. So certainly the movement, the pattern is fairly consistent, right? So what would I be telling him to do? Well, I'd be telling him to rid himself of that right leg straightening move, and I'd tell him to try to lower himself as he gets to the top of the swing, and we'd be working on keeping his head out over the ball more. Anyway, who am I? He's making a couple $1 million a year. However, I do think he's got he's only 33, man. He's got the potential to be one of the great ones, but I think he's going to have to fix this up. Okay.